Hi folks, it's James, JT at the Movies, back here again in the movie space for the next part of my Debriefing 007 series. We're going to talk today about 1963's From Russia with Love. In 1963, President John F. Kennedy named this one of his favourite books of the year. That, of course, gave the producers the inspiration to make this the next 007 adventure. The basic plot is that Spectre want revenge on 007 and ultimately to bring about his demise after what happened in the events of Dr. No. A defected Soviet agent, Rosa Klebb, now working for Spectre, comes up with the idea that we send a letter to 007 pretending to be from a young, beautiful Soviet agent, promising him access to a Lecter decoding machine because she's in love with him and wants to defect to Great Britain. Of course, MI6 get that note. They think it's too good to be true, but M ultimately sends Bond out to Istanbul to investigate. As he says in the film, we can't miss our opportunity to potentially get our hands on a Lecter. While in Istanbul, Bond teams up with the head of Station T there, Kerim Bey, one of my favourite allies of the entire Bond series. I absolutely love this character. Now, do you know, I used to absolutely hate this film when I was a kid. I just couldn't appreciate it at all. But in my late teens and in my 20s, I really seem to have found a love for it. And actually now, it's probably in my top 10 Bond films. I absolutely love it. It could even be, thinking about it now, my favourite Connery film, maybe instead of Thunderball, which topped out my my Connery list, if you remember the rankings that I did. Back to the plot. Red Grant, a Spectre henchman, is also in Istanbul, keeping tabs on Bond and acting, as he puts it later in the film, as Bond's guardian angel, making sure that Bond stays alive and well to get to the point where Spectre can actually get their hands on the Lecter. That way the Russians will think that one of theirs has defected to Britain, Britain will think that the Russians have double-crossed them, and nobody will suspect Spectre. Bond meets up with Tanya in his hotel room. The two make love, unbeknownst to the pair of them that they're actually being filmed as part of a ploy to humiliate Bond before ultimately killing him, and obviously humiliate the British Secret Service as well. Bond sets in motion a plan to steal the Lecter from the Russian embassy where Tanya works. They set a plan. They go for it. Kerim Bey sets them up an escape plan from Turkey, puts the three of them on the Orient Express. Red Grant is also on the Orient Express and unfortunately kills Kerim Bey. Then, posing as another British agent, Red Grant meets up with Bond and Tanya and basically says that he's the bloke sent to take over from Kerim Bey and that he's got an escape route planned in. And that they need to follow everything that he says. Unfortunately, Red Grant gives himself away and Bond initially thinks that he's another Soviet agent, but then when Grant reveals that he's working for Spectre, Bond puts all the pieces together and realises what's going on. A fantastic fist fight ensues on the train, probably one of the best fight scenes in the entire series, bar none. Connery obviously is at peak physical fitness here, as is Robert Shaw playing Red Grant, and the two bray seven bells out of each other. It's absolutely fantastic. Bond obviously becomes triumphant and ends up killing Red Grant. Bond and Tanya then decide that they're going to take Grant's escape plan and meet up with another Spectre agent. They tie him up. They follow the plan implicitly. Spectre try to chase them as they flee to Venice, but obviously Bond gets the upper hand and manages to sink the boat that they're chasing them in. When we think all's well that ends well, as the pair are relaxing in a hotel in Venice, Rosa Klebb shows up in a last-ditch attempt to try and kill Bond and retrieve the Lecter. Now, this is where things differ from the novel. In the novel, it ends on a cliffhanger with Bond being potentially fatally wounded, and we don't find out until the start of the next novel, which ironically was Dr. No, whether or not he survives. And that's why, if you remember at the start of Dr. No, in the briefing, M goes, that gun jammed on your last job and you spent 6 months in the hospital as a consequence of it. They're actually referring to what happens in the novel From Russia with Love. But in the film, Bond gets the upper hand and manages to, with help from Tanya, defeat Colonel Klebb. It's actually Tanya that fires the fatal shot in the end. The pair of them sail off with the Lecter in hand down the canals of Venice. Bond realises that he's now got the microfilm of the pair of them making love from earlier in the film, and decides to expose it to sunlight, making sure that the film is utterly useless. The theme plays across the end from Matt Monro, and James Bond will return. So what did I think of this film? Well, like I say, when I was a young lad and I used to watch these with my dad, I really didn't care for this one at all. I found it quite boring, and I just didn't really appreciate or understand what was going on in the film. And then about 10 years ago at this point, my good mate and myself, Phil Graham, who's a frequent collaborator on this channel, and he's just started his own channel, so if you've not actually seen it, go over and check Phil out. He's got some really good stuff going on over there. About 10 years ago, when Phil was studying in Leeds and we were sort of both in our late teens, we decided to take a long weekend and watch all the Bond films up to the release of Skyfall. Over the course of a long weekend, so you can imagine that took a while, and not something that I would actively look to do now. But when we watched From Russia with Love in series with the rest of them, I don't know, something just clicked into place, and I absolutely fell in love with this. And I now find that it's one that I come back to very regularly, and I really have a soft spot for it. Really is one of my favourites of the franchise now. I think Connery takes, what he established in Dr. No and builds on it. He's still bringing that coolness and that swagger to the role. Daniela Bianchi as Tanya is an absolutely fantastic leading lady. She plays the real sort of conflicted between heart and head sort of, and love of her country and thinking she's doing the right thing. So then when she learns that she has actually been betrayed, and she's now basically got to go along with it for the sake of her life, sort of thing, and she plays that sort of being conflicted really well. Robert Shaw as Red Grant is absolutely phenomenal, as is Lottie Lenya as Rosa Klebb. Really fantastic villains for the piece. The supporting cast are brilliant. We've got the first appearance of Desmond Llewellyn as Q, though he's called the Armourer in this. Bernard Lee returns as M, as does Lois Maxwell as Moneypenny. Pedro Armendariz, sorry, I had to check that on the DVD case. I couldn't remember the chap's surname, and I didn't want to butcher it. Plays the absolutely fantastic ally that is Karim Bey. Absolute shame that character had to die. I would have loved to have seen him come back for future sequels. Obviously, in real life, the actor actually had cancer and didn't live long past the production of this film, which is a real shame. But a really fantastic character. Really love it. This film is, like I say, now one of my favourites of the series, and it's one that I come back to regularly. I give this a solid 8 out of 10. So folks, thank you very much for watching my next review of From Russia with Love there. What are your thoughts on the film? Leave me your comments and your thoughts down below. I'm absolutely a fanatic for James Bond and would really love to discuss this with anybody that wants to have a natter about it. If you've liked this video and you like videos talking about the James Bond series, about collecting physical media, about horror movies, about action movies, and just enjoying film as a medium itself, consider subscribing to the channel, because that's what I'm all about. If you do subscribe, ring that notification bell. That way you're the first to know when I do post a video. And above all else, as I'm saying at the moment, continue to take care of yourselves, continue to stay safe in these really trying times. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you again next time for my Goldfinger review. Cheers!